Welcome to OWSP Top 10 course presented by Quest Technologies. Hi, I am Arijit, Senior Cybersecurity Consultant in Quest. We shall be discussing the WASP Top 10 in this course. OWASP stands for Open Web Application Security Project and lists out the vulnerabilities that should be considered. The top 10 list is the list of vulnerabilities which must be tested and fixed in a web application before it is acquired, developed, operated, or maintained in an organization. This introductory course will also be helpful to the candidates aspiring to build their career in application security. What is OWASP? As I said before, OWASP means when Open Web Application Security Project. So now let us understand what is WASP. OWASP Foundation is the open community dedicated to enabling organizations to conceive, develop, acquire, operate and maintain applications. The website of the foundation is www.owasp.org. I recommend everyone to go to this URL and look at their website. The foundation was established as not-for-profit charitable organization on 21st April 2004, though the foundation came online on December 1st, 2001. The tools, documents, the forums, whatever is being published by the foundations are free to anyone to refer and use. The core values of this foundation is their openness. Everything in OWASP is transparent, from finances to code. The foundation encourage and support innovation and experiments for solutions to software security challenges. Anyone want to do any kind of innovation to find out a solutions to a specific software security is most welcome by this foundation. So it's global in nature. Anyone around the world is encouraged to participate. And the last but not the least, in the integrity. It's an honest and truthful, vendor neutral global community. Now we'll get into what is this top 10 list. What does this cover? OWASP Top 10 is a powerful awareness document for web application security. It mostly lists down the most critical security risk that can be present in a web application. The list was prepared by the expertise being shared by variety of security experts around the world. Now, who contributes in creating this list? There are 40 plus data submissions from firms that specialize in application security. Industry survey is conducted by over 500 individuals. Vulnerabilities gathered from hundreds of organizations and over 100K real world applications and APIs. And out of this, top 10s are selected and prioritized according to the prevalence data. Thus, we get the top 10 list of vulnerabilities that should be considered for fixing. This is very, very critical when you develop or acquire an web application. It doesn't mean that 11th one is not important for you, but yes, this top 10 is mandatory to consider when you look at the security of a web application. Now we will discuss about the methodology being adopted by OWASP while measuring or defining risk. This picture was taken from OWASP website. Here, if you look at the threat agents are nothing but the attackers. It can be internal to the organization. It can be external also. Now, attack vectors. It is the method of attack or process of attack the attackers will use to exploit a weakness and then get access to the application. Security weakness, as you understand that these are the possible weakness which can be there in a web application. And security controls means that in spite of having weakness, you may have some mitigatory or compensatory controls in place, and then the technical impacts and finally leading to business impacts. Now, if you look at the flow diagram, threat agents using one attack vector trying to exploit a security weakness. For an example, say SQL injection weakness, and in spite of having control, he is able to get into the functionality of the application. It may change data, it may update few fields in the database, thus causing a technical impact to the organization. Business impact is very specific to an organization. If the application is for a very business critical system, it may impact the business heavily. So it depends on the nature of the application and its use within the organization. This is the methodology used by OWASP while calculating the risk score. So we'll learn it more in the next slide where we'll understand how to calculate the risk. In this slide, we'll understand risk rating methodology. If you look at the table, it says threat agents, exploitability, weakness prevalence, weakness detectability, then technical impact, and business impact. Now, threat agents are very application specific. So, what does that exploitability mean? It means that there is a weakness. So, what is the possibility of exploiting that weakness? So, exploitability, if it is easy, the score is 3. If it is average, the score is 2. And if it is difficult to exploit, the score is 1. Similarly, the weakness. What is the weakness prevalent to that application? If the weakness is widespread, this risk score is 3. If it is common, the risk score is 2. And if it is uncommon, the risk score is 1. Now, weakness detectability. So, for an example, there is a weakness and it can be exploited also. But how easy to detect that weakness? If it is easy to detect the weakness, the score is 3. If it is average, the score is 2. If it is difficult to detect that weakness, the score is 1. Now, similarly, when the exploit happens and when there is a technical impact, if the technical impact, the severity of the technical impact is severe, then risk score is 3. If it is moderate, the risk score is 2. And if it is minor, the risk score is 1. Here we see an example of risk calculation formula. Now, referring to the table that we discussed in earlier slide, in this example, if we consider the exploitability is easy, which means the risk score is 3, and the security weakness is widespread, the risk score is again 3 for it, and the detectability is easy, then the risk score is again 3 here. Now if we average it out, 3 plus 3 plus 3 divided by 3 is average is 3. Now by this exploit, the technical impact on the application, for an example here, if it is moderate, now you multiply that with the average of the exploitability, prevalence and detectability. So 3 into 2 is 6. So the total risk score for this example is 6. Now to explain it much more easily to you, let us take another example where we take the security weakness as an injection possibility, or you can also consider that as an attack vector. Now going by this, exploitability injection is definitely easy, so risk score is 3. Security prevalence, it is not widespread, it is common, so the risk score is 2. And the detectability of an injection weakness is also very easy, so detectability risk score is 3. Now going by this, what is my average? 3 plus 3 plus 6 plus 2, 8 divided by 3, so it will be coming around 2 point something, which equivalents to 3 as a round off. Now by this exploit, the technical impact is severe, because with this injection exploit, the attackers will be able to view my database tables, actually take out data from my database, update that and give it back to my application, which impacts the integrity of the data, confidentiality as well as integrity of the data. Hence, the technical impact of this exploit is severe, which is 3. Now going by this, the overall security risk score for this would be 3 into 3, which is 9. Hope you understand how to calculate the risk. Now let us look at the worst top 10. So though we will be discussing this in detail in the next section, but let us have a look on what are those top 10 lists as per OWASP. So number 1 is injection. So injection is not only SQL injection. Injection here means it may be SQL injection, no SQL injection, with comment injection and LDAP injection. It occurs when untrusted data is sent to an interpreter as part of a command or query. Means when I am able to do, for an example, SQL injection, I shall be able to send data, though I am an untrusted source, but untrusted method of sending the data from my side to an interpreter as part of a query. In case of WAS injection, it will be sent as a command. This data,
is hostile data, the interpreter will not be able to understand that has come from an attacker and is hostile in nature, and it will execute without proper authorization. Second in the list is broken authentication. What does that mean? Application functions related to authentication and session management are often implemented incorrectly, allowing attackers to compromise passwords, keys or session tokens, or to exploit other implementation flaws to assume the others temporarily or permanently. In the sense, if I am storing a password in a clear text format, it is very easy to exploit that and get the information. Correct? If I am not able to manage the session and the key for the session or the session token for a specific session, or say I am passing a attribute through an URL, it will be easier for an attacker to break that authentication and actually gain access of the user's credential temporarily or maybe permanently. That is what is called as a broken authentication. The third in the list is sensitive data exposure. Now, many web applications and APIs do not properly protect sensitive data, such as financial, healthcare, PII. Attackers may steal or modify such weakly protected data to conduct credit card fraud, identify theft, or other crimes. This means when I am storing sensitive data, I should encrypt that in that field. The credit card data, when I am storing, I should not store the entire 16 digits of the credit card. I may only store the last 4, which may be visible, and the first 12 may be encrypted, kept encrypted in the database. I should not store the CVV like that. So, we should look at how we should be protecting the sensitive data. In case this is weak, the sensitive data can be exposed to an attacker. Number 4 in the list is XML external entities or XXE. Many older or poorly configured XML processors evaluate external entity references within XML documents. External entities can be used to disclose internal data using the file URL handler, internal file share, internal port scanning, remote code execution, and denial of service attacks. We'll learn more about it in the coming slides. Number 5 is the broken access control. Restriction what authenticated users are allowed to do are not properly enforced. Attackers can exploit these flaws to access unauthorized functionality and or data such as access to other users' accounts, view sensitive files, modify other users' data, change access rights, etc. Now, if you look at most of our web application will have some kind of login screen where you need to put in your username and password, and based on that username and password and the role that is being defined against that username, you will be redirected to a page where you can see the data or the functionality of an application which you are supposed to work on. But in case this is poorly configured and an attacker is able to change this, he, being a common user or normal user, can get into a page where a privileged user will have access to, and thus he will be able to view sensitive files or data which he is not supposed to see or change. The sixth is security misconfiguration. In my experience, I have seen this is the most clause that is available in most of the organizations, and this is very common. So security misconfiguration is most commonly seen issue. This is commonly a result of insecure default configuration, incomplete or ad hoc configuration, open cloud storage, misconfigured HTTP headers, and verbose error message containing sensitive information. This is again a very common, if you go to a web application, sometimes in website, and for an example, you try to log in to that website, and there is some problem maybe in the website, maybe the front end is not able to connect to database for that moment. It throws a error message. If the error message is not suppressed or not controlled through error pages, then it will give you information by which you will be able to understand what environment I am using to run this web application, and accordingly you can actually get the required information and start your weaponization phase. So this is very common, but this is very serious. The seventh one in the list is cross-site scripting or XSS. This is also very common and very interesting. We will learn in detail in the coming modules, but for you to understand is that XSS clause occurs when an application includes untrusted data in a new web page without proper validation or escaping, or updates an existing web page with user supplied data using browser API that can create HTML or JavaScript. Number 8 is the insecure deserialization. Insecure deserialization that leads to remote code execution. Even so, they can be used to perform attacks, including replay attacks, injection attacks, and privilege escalation attacks. We will learn more about it in the coming slides. Number 9 is using components with known vulnerabilities. Components such as libraries, framework, and other software modules run with the same privilege as the application. If a vulnerable component is exploited, such an attack can facilitate serious data loss or server takeover. For an example, in web application, we a lot of time use different modules or components within that, and if that component or that module which is being used by that application is vulnerable, then it will be easier for the attackers to exploit that vulnerability within the module and get access to the application. So it is always recommended that whenever you use such modules or components or libraries within the application, you should first check the known vulnerabilities that are present against those components. The number 10 is the insufficient logging and monitoring. Insufficient logging and monitoring coupled with missing or ineffective integration of incident response allow attackers to further protect systems, maintain persistence, pivot to more systems, and tamper, extract sensitive data. In the same, here we are more on talking on the SOC part of the Security Operations Center, where you use the SIEM, Security Incident and Event Monitoring platform, where you should have the application logs being ingested and monitored for any anomaly. This is very, very common flaw which I have also seen in my life. All other logs are monitored, but application logs in very, very few places it is being monitored. So it is important that we should have the logging and monitoring mechanism for the application also. We have come to the last slide of this overview module. So things to remember, whatever we learned out from this module is that OWASP top 10 is not necessarily your top 10. As I said before, 11th one may also be very, very important for you because every organization is different. We should always consider to build secure web application. And we should look for updated top 10 lists every few years. So as of now, the lists have been published in 2004, 2007, 10, 2013 and 2017, and that is the current top 10 list as of April 2020. Thank you very much. Hope I could make you understand about the overview of OWASP top 10 list. In the next module, we will be going in details of each of the list, and we'll see you there. Thank you very much.